So it's rainy season has begun, and so many things to talk about. I'll wait till a few people get on, and we'll get rolling. And this is my 23rd day of fasting with zero food, no food whatsoever. And when this fast is over, I'm not going to take any more vitamins, except when I'm traveling. I actually often I don't take any vitamins anyway, unless I'm traveling, because if you eat right, you don't need any vitamins at all. Uh, but hey, Gary in Cincinnati, hope everything's good up there in Cincinnati. Hope the audio is good. That's why I got these earbuds in to make sure I can hear. Hello in Brazil. Hope everything's good down there. I'm actually kind of concerned about you guys. Hey, Wei Shan in Australia. Hope everything's good down there. And I read the article that you sent, Wei Shan, about the potential chemical problems if there's any supply disruptions to time, chemical problems that would be used to make water potable. It means drinkable. And for I don't know how many countries use that language, potable. But that's quite interesting. Hello, Jennifer and Judy in Vegas. Well, let's get started. Nicola says, "Hey, Mike from Northern Ireland. When do you plan to eat again? You are shrinking." You should have seen me after some of our training in the Army. Sometimes we come back in like a month of training. You come back in, you're looking like bones, man. It's gets pretty serious. Oh, the movie background is distracting. I'll change it to something else. Actually, I shot that in Afghanistan. I just got a green screen put up, so I'm kind of messed. You can tell I'm like a boy with a new toy, playing with my green. So I was looking for things that would make a suitable green screen. I saw that video, and I thought, oh, maybe that. This was British forces in combat in Sangin. I made the video, and it's interesting because I did a lot of combat with British and American infantry, like several years, right? And it's interesting the differences in the way the British fight from how Americans fight. The British are extremely professional, very excellent soldiers, great soldiers. It's interesting how differently they fight though than American soldiers. For instance, and I've said this a few times and published it, the British will fight more of a technical fight, and Americans do that too, but we brawl more. And if you don't know what you're looking at and you haven't been in much combat and don't have some of your own training, it won't be apparent to you. I'm sure of that. But it would be like coming to watching different boxing matches and never having boxed yourself or don't know anything about boxing. And you can't tell the difference between a technical fighter and a brawler. It might take you a while to pick up on that. But, I did so much combat with British and Americans. I realized, the Brits are more technical. They're always, they're that technical fighter. Whereas Americans, we come in technical fighting, but then we get into the brawl mode and start going nutso on them. And both techniques work. It just, let me change this out. If this video is distracting, I'll change it. I'll change it to, just bear with me. I'm sorry about that. Let's see here. I'll change it to something else. How about anything I put up will be something I shot. Well, not necessarily, but today. And then we'll talk about states opening, and then just go straight to questions. And well, it might not switch out quickly. There's a hold up. Anyway, here we go. How about we'll put open. We'll put. How about we'll just put a less distracting moon up. All right, another photo I shot somewhere. I hope it's a good one. All right, yeah, I shot that. I think I shot that in Afghanistan. Anyway, it's funny. I was out shooting full moon one night with Afghans, or was it an eclipse? I think it was an eclipse. No, it was a full moon. And so I was letting some of the Afghans look through my camera gear, which had a significant lens on it and extenders as well, for those who know. It was over 1,000 millimeters total. There were some Afghan interpreters there, and they're very smart guys, but they're not dialed into like a lot of modern stuff, And so one of them's looking through he's looking through, and of course the moon's moving fast because I got over 1,000 millimeters on it. So that, the moon's moving quite fast. And goes, what do they grow up there? And I was like, he's like, what do they grow? Like, how do they get their water and that sort of thing? How many people are up there? That sort of thing. I was like, well, nobody actually lives up there. I mean, we put 12 men on the moon, but nobody actually lives there. He was surprised at that. Very smart guys, but dialed out on that sort of stuff. Anyway, let's get down to some, you see some of the states that are opening, and we'll see what happens in May. My intuitive leap is that we're going to take a lot of casualties, but we need to get the economy open. And so a lot of people realize this, and some don't, but a lot of them, I realize this. I could be wrong, of course, but I think I'm right, that we're going to take a lot of casualties from opening up the way this is, but we're going to take those casualties anyway. They're just going to be stretched out as our economy gets destroyed. And so we need to open up, and we don't have time to wait for some vaccine that may or may not come, like the Great Pumpkin. And so it's or even pharmaceuticals that may help our economy if it crashes. Remember, there's more to the problem set than just China. I mean, more to this problem set than just the virus. There's China. And also there's internal problems within the United States. We could have a rebellion, for instance. You see what's happening up in Michigan. And I see a lot of people very upset that, some armed people, citizens took up arms, and they didn't do anything to my knowledge. But we're, basically showing we got guns, and you need to stop treating us like we're your subjects, because we're not. And then President Trump made some statement, which, predictably got backlash. And but I agree with the people in Michigan. That's why we have a Second Amendment, because we are not subjects. We are, as citizens, the first branch of the government and the last. Everything else is sandwich meat. The first and the last branch of the United States government is U.S. citizens. That's why we have a Second Amendment. That's why we have a First Amendment. And I hope we never use that Second Amendment for what it's intended for. That would be tragic. And so I've been thinking about that a lot. Whether to go to Taiwan or come back to the United States is really weighing on my mind. I think it should be the United States. And I've been thinking about, going from state to state in a trailer, but what I might need to do is go more quickly in a car and go all around and take what we call atmospherics. In 2006, when I said that we were losing the war in Afghanistan, I did that based on just knowing what to look for and how to I know what to look for in insurgency, right? I mean, I've studied it for years. I've spent years in insurgencies. It's not something I can explain quickly. But imagine a doctor comes in and he goes, okay, I know what the problem is here. I can do that with insurgency. That's why I was able to say within 1 month that Hong Kong was in an insurgency, which it clearly is. It still is. It's ongoing. Likewise, in 2006, when I was way ahead of the curve saying that we started to win the Iraq war, you have to know what you're looking for. And my dog is looking for something. You have to know what you're looking for. And in order to, for instance, measure what the people are thinking in Michigan, I can't read news reports. You can't. It's like a doctor reading news reports about his patient. You know what I mean? The doctor can't read news. The people writing the news reports have no idea what to look for unless they're like SF or CIA or something like that. They're just not going to even know what to look and listen for. And that's something you have to be on the ground for. Even huge amounts of the intel people really have no idea what to look for. I know that just from experience. And in that regard, if this continues to go the way that it is, I got to sense it. I won't even have time to go set up cameras and put people on it quickly. I want to go and sense very quickly how people, like, what are you really thinking in Michigan? Go out with the militia people, go out with the other people and say, hey, This is what I'm here for. I want to know what you're really thinking. Just lay it out. Here's who I am. Here's what I'm here to see how I think our country is going to go, and just tell them. And well, we'll take it by ear. But that's the way I'm starting to think. And so let me start taking some here. Let me see. There's Al Johnson, whose counsel I listen to very closely. Taiwan for, wait a minute. By the way, Al Johnson's a former Army officer who did 2 tours in EOD tours in Iraq. And he understands what I'm talking about. He's somebody I can actually talk to peer to peer. Taiwan, first to show how democracy can respond to a pandemic. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Al. Taiwan, first to show how a democracy can respond to the pandemic successfully, then travel to the U.S. so that you have a solid base of examples and people that dealt with the problem that can provide information to the U.S. for lessons learned. Johns Hopkins is already starting to dial into Taiwan. Johns Hopkins or so. Right. When you read the book called The Great Influenza, it talks about a lot about the history of Johns Hopkins, by the way. Very interesting. Fascinating, actually. But I was thinking the same thing, Al. We're often on the same wavelength, typically actually are. Yeah, because Taiwan is clearly ahead of the curve. And also, yeah, and I'm very concerned about Taiwan and Hong Kong for every reason that you already know. And, for those who don't know, because China will stop at nothing to take Hong Kong and Taiwan. There's nothing they won't stop at. And, sorry, that rain is going. Unless you like the rain, I can turn it. I have a speaker outside. I have a mic outside in case something happens. I can crank it up. But Taiwan is obviously crucial, strategically crucial for so many reasons. And I would like to actually do a stop by in Japan likewise. But I need to get to the United States as well. We need to talk about it. Let me go up to the top and start trying to answer some questions. Hello in Wisconsin, Eric and Andrew and Kimmy Chan, depending where you're from. Sherry Woodworth, hello, Anchor in Minnesota. Hello, Augusta. I take it that's the Georgia one. Al Johnson says, same time as Shapiro. Arg, I'll stay tuned in here to see how much weight you lost. Ben never ages or changes. Yeah, actually, Shapiro's super smart dude. I like to listen to him. Ben Shapiro. Oh, thanks, Joyce. On the background, audio is good. Thanks, Gary. Let's see. I'm going to try to get straight to questions. Teza said, hey, Mike, believe Canada has banned automatic guns. Automatic guns has different meaning to different people. I don't know what their laws are like now. There's no freedom of speech in Canada, interestingly. Thanks, Nicola. Let's see. I'm looking for questions, and I'm going to get right to them, and then get right down to, okay, Gigi, Mike. Jennifer Hack says, do you meet up with Australians over there? In Thailand? Absolutely. I meet Australians pretty much everywhere I go, actually. I mean, I walked up to Mount Everest with a Aussie two Aussies and a Taiwanese. It was 3 of us. And the Taiwanese man, he might be on tonight on my page. He almost actually got killed. It was very close. And he's a really good guy. We spent 2 or 3 weeks together. Let's see. Russell saying, I don't. Oh, Russell saying, P. Mara, now you can put 2 and 2 together when I mentioned my sister getting your book. I know she said I was in division, but I was also in the Q course, 18. Oh, good. You can show me how to work one of these shortwaves. And soon after, broke my back. Ah, man. Sorry about that, bro. Um, I hope everything's well now. So many people get messed up in the Q course. There was a lot of good soldiers didn't make it through because they got injured all the time. Somebody was always breaking a leg. Like my buddy broke his rib. He fell off the obstacle course. It was nasty. But he was a good guy too. He would have been a good SF soldier. Greetings from the Anheuser-Busch plant in New Jersey. Are y'all considered a vital? Let's see. British divers are excellent too, Ing says. Oh, thank you for the support, Ern. I can't thank everybody who sends for some reason because email addresses don't always show up. And so thank you for everybody whom I haven't. Actually, it's easy to thank people on Patreon. Almost everybody I can thank on Patreon, but on PayPal, it's hit and miss. But I really appreciate anybody who supports me on Patreon, PayPal, Venmo, Bank of America, Mitsubishi Bank, so many ways. Super appreciate it. Nicola Higgins says, you shouting down the English commander of the Raptors. Yeah, you're talking about in Hong Kong. Actually, I got contacted tonight about something related to that. There are people in Hong Kong now who are gathering information, let's say intelligence, because that's what it is, about the British subjects who are on the Hong Kong police force. And I was asked for more information. And the bottom line is, as I've been saying for months, get every single piece of information you can about those British subjects on the Hong Kong police force. Every little tiny thing, no matter how trivial it may seem, get it all. Vacuum it up with a 500 horsepower vacuum. Get it all. Because all this stuff later, when it comes to crimes against humanity and trials, this stuff can be useful. And I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the night I was telling him to, in very unpleasant terms, what he could do with himself. It's a wonder they didn't beat me up. That was December 31st. That was when the pandemic was starting, but I hadn't been paying attention to it yet. I didn't start paying attention until January 11th. But on December 31st, he was out in the street, strutting in the street. You can see him on my video and some other, or maybe not my video, but on some other people's videos. He's strutting down the street. There was fighting going on. He had all these heavily armed guards around him, police. And I told him to F off, you're a British traitor. And I was yelling at him. And then he comes over to me. He puts his hand on his pistol. You can see it on people's videos. It's online. And he's got his hand on his pistol and he's, trying to threaten me. And one of the cops is like, who are you from? And I'm, I thought they're going to smash me. And I was just like, back, you know what I was saying? You work for the communist. And anyway, he left and went down the street. I'm surprised they didn't beat me up and throw me in jail. But anyway, they didn't let me in on February 5th when I went back. So there you go. But that's who you're talking about. Yeah. He's one of the guys. This is the bottom line. The British police, not the British police, but the British subjects who are police on the Hong Kong police force, I'll put them in one of two categories. They're either spies for the British government, in which case, good on them, they're our friends, or they're sellouts to the Communist Party, in which case they need to be hanged. They're either spies, in which case they need medals, or they need to be hanged. That's it. And I don't see any like gray area there. What they're doing on behalf of the communists, if they're not straight up spies, then they are straight up traitors. One or the other. I don't know which one it is, of course. Let's see. Pam Sellard says, have you seen the SpaceX Starlink satellites going overhead? I have not seen them go overhead. I've looked at some of the footage, for instance, from the space station. And today I watched a test on a return vehicle, on a egress exercise where they intentionally, exploded a launch vehicle and then the would be in the future, manned vehicle safely came back to Earth. That was a good, I enjoyed that test. I enjoyed it because it worked. If it failed, I would not enjoy it. I would not enjoy it. Except that I know SpaceX will quickly. Elon Musk can be maddening sometimes, but when it comes to getting stuff done, he's a pretty rare individual. Let's see. Uh, Bill Davis says, FYI, Chicago is having a huge rally today against our uber rich governor who wants to expand Wuhan virus crap every chance he gets. Well, that's why they want to disarm people in places like, California, because the government wants to be able to push people around. Do not, under any circumstances, surrender your weapons. Gigi Stoner, you were talking about the blender the other day. I had a Ninja, and it did not do what I wanted it to do, hot soups, etc., etc. I gave it away and bought a Vitamix. Oh, yeah, well, Vitamix is what I was looking at. I'm sorry. I thought it was Ninja Vitamix, right? The Vitamixes are quite expensive, but I want to get one blender that lasts me for the rest of my life. I don't like this filter. This filter will probably last me for the rest of my life. I started using it in at least 2002. Been all over the world. Still use it, and I continue. I haven't even changed a filter in it since, all those times in India and Nepal, Tibet, China, Iraq, Afghanistan, many countries. I like to buy something one time, invest in it, and be done with it. I wish you could do that with computers. You hear the thunder out there. I just heard a breaking news. Canada just banned 1,500 types of firearms. Oh, well, why would they be doing that? Because they want to seize more control. They want to seize more control. I need to read about that. I'm not repeating that. I'm just reading what you said. I'm not seconding that. I haven't studied up on that. Thank you, Roger, on the studio. I'm learning how to do this better. Because normally I'm out in the field and that sort of thing. I'm not. Thanks, Roger. Yeah, Kathy says Michigan exercised their First and Second Amendment. Yes, that's what they need to do. In Canada and look at the UK proposing laws to physically force vaccines on people. You got to be kidding. I mean, there's Americans that'll do that too. I've asked this question numerous. I was talking with a doctor friend today. I should have asked him. What is the correct answer to this question? If one person gets vaccinated, and out of 100 people, if one person gets vaccinated and 99 others don't, will that really affect that one person's body, except that they might die? Will you, if one person gets vaccinated for measles and the other 99 don't, will that really get that one person? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. What is the answer to that? I don't know. I know one thing. When I study up on vaccinations, and I see almost everything out there that I can find is loaded. You can tell that it's somehow loaded. It's somehow biased. I'm looking for somebody who will write like I will, that'll be very dispassionate on something like that. However, I want to say clearly, my ideas on I got a bunch of vaccinations last year to return to India, and then the insurgency started in Hong Kong. So I'm not an anti-vaxxer. So to me, there are different levels of decision here. One is purely scientific, and on that you have to make eventually some judgment call on whether that chance is worth it to you or not, right? But then there's another one, which is not even related to science or only vaguely, and that is the freedom issue, the freedom to decide what goes in our bodies or our children's bodies, that sort of thing. That's a totally separate from science. That has nothing to do with science. That has to do with something. It's like the gun issue. A lot of our decisions on the second, people will try to argue that that weapons should be taken away because of so many people get killed every year. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then on another issue, it's our freedom. We don't want to be taken over like Canada. or United Kingdom or Hong Kong or any of these places. You know, we want weapons because we want to defend ourselves, period. And if a lot live free or die, and if a lot of people get killed, that's the fertilizer of the tree of freedom, or you've heard that saying in different ways before. I mean, it's unfortunate, but give up freedom because people are going to die? No, it's live free or die, or live free or kill. It's not surrender because somebody's going to get hurt if we don't surrender. No sirree, Bob. No, it's going to be a shootout at the OK Corral, and there's going to be OK Corrals all over the country. So I mean, no, it's not. And any time there's a crisis like this, the government will reach in and try to take more power, and we need to push them back. And now you see some actual issues that are popping up from this pandemic. Our states are seizing a lot of their own rights back, for better and for worse. A lot of us believe strongly in states' rights. But at the same time, we realize that there's a plus and minus to this. I think most people can work that out themselves and realize that there are ups and downs to this. I mean, if one state has too much power, it can close its borders to its neighboring state for whatever reason it wants to, and but you can't do that when we got a federal government that'll come and open that border up, right? I mean, we don't want to have fights between states. We had that before, remember? So we don't want to have a war between states. And so we have to draw this balance between states' rights, which need to be strong, but not strong enough. We end up in 1861 again. Yeah, it's difficult for all of us. Nobody can, if you can work it out quickly in your head, you're either a genius or not so smart. It's one or the other. Bill Davis says, you were spot on. So many reasons to open the economy. Hopefully the people in Michigan that protested have onward to pressure on their local representatives. Right. They need to show that they have their own power. Let's see. Oh, the blue circle on the screen. You might be talking about this one. Is that the one you're talking about? Okay. Let's see. Joseph Simon says, Maryland has its National Guard deployed to protect PPE from federal seizures. Good grief. I got to take a note on that. Got to look that up. I missed that. That's interesting. Are you kidding me? Wow. I have to research this. Okay. I'll take a note on that. I go offline. Jenna says, unfortunately, I think you're going to have to come to the U.S. It's just getting crazier here. Yeah, that's clear, even from over here. Oh, Barney's okay. Barney's happy. Everybody loves Barney. Barney's got so many homes. I spent 6 months in Hong Kong until they kicked me out, and Barney was fine. She was happy when I got home, though. She went crazy there for a couple of days. Let's see. Word Dunlap. Hewitt was decimated during the Obama regime. All U.S. secrets were leaked, stolen, and sold. It didn't happen just during Obama. It's happened a lot and continues to happen. We should kick out all Chinese nationals in our university, period. And I'm not talking about Chinese ethnicity. People from Taiwan and Hong Kong are fine. Singapore, fine. But people that are from the mainland, out. Every one of them. Lock, stock, and barrel. And reapply. Kimmy Chan says, if states started opening up, if states to states started open up, people should wear masks and wear gloves as well. Because don't mean the virus is over, but yeah, absolutely. And like here in Thailand, there's commercials on all the time. Like I look at Thai news and whatnot to see if they're talking about it constantly, right? There's all kinds of commercials like wear mask, wash hands, and nobody makes commercials as good as Thais do. You see those Super Bowl commercials in America, you ain't seen nothing. You should see Thai commercials. The Thai commercials are like of epic quality insofar as they will make you do something. You know what I mean? They will cause you to take action. And I don't know how Thais do it, but Thais have a way of smooth the silk. I mean, they know how to encourage people to wear masks, to wash hands, to social distance. Uh, and I don't know how much the United States, federal and states and other local governments are investing in advertisements and public service announcements, but there should be like, 10 minutes per hour should be on this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, the station breaks should be like, boom, pop, 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 pop. This is what to do. Otherwise, it'll be worse than it needed to be. Let's see. All right. I'm looking for any questions I can quickly answer. And otherwise, I will go offline and let's see here. Any specific questions? Kimmy says you're in Orange County, California, but you're originally from, there it went. You're originally from Hong Kong. I started to watch your videos since Hong Kong protests. Thanks for being there. I was checking out what's going on in Hong Kong today. As you know, the insurgency remains strong. There was, more stuff going on today. I was watching some of the live feeds. Hey, Sammy. Yeah, thanks. I've been 23 days now with zero food, 23. And I feel fine. I feel quite fine. Hey, Barbara. Let me see. I think I skipped some questions up here. Let me go back up. Pamela says, do you think Sweden has the right idea? That's a question, a lot of us have asked ourselves, including me. And this is a thing. I don't have enough situational awareness on Sweden to even make much of a comment other than Sweden has a very different culture than the United States or any country, really. And Sweden is Sweden. And for instance, many of the Swedes live alone anyway. And they also, as in a lot of the other Nordic peoples, they already social distance quite a lot. They're not huggy kissy like Italians, like Norwegians and Danes, Swedish. They're more, they kind of hold back a little bit more. Germans as well. But the more north you go, it seems the more it gets. And so it's a different culture. And also there's so many factors that no scientist knows the answers to yet, to my knowledge. There's so many factors out there that could be part of this. Like, what is your diet? What are your genes? What are so many other things? Sunlight, temperature. So many factors. It takes the scientists time to nail this stuff down. And this is a fast moving target. And so we're just going to have to wait and see and encourage everybody to work as fast as they can. I'm sure they are. Hey, Sharon, thank you. I took a lot of full moon pictures in Afghanistan. I think I made that in Afghanistan. It may have been somewhere else. It may have been Nepal or something. It's interesting though. One time a full moon was coming. No, an eclipse was coming in Afghanistan, and I warned a lot of our soldiers. I was like, be careful if you hear a bunch of shooting nearby you tonight. Don't light it up necessarily until you make 100% sure you're being fired upon, because when an eclipse happens in a lot of cultures, they think like the Satan is stealing the moon, right? And so they'll go out and shoot their AK-47s up and try to scare Satan away. They'll be shooting RPGs up in the sky and stuff. It may sound funny, but there's a lot of cultures that have done that. Like I think English used to do similar. They would beat pots and pans. Some cultures in China would light fireworks and stuff like that. So it's not, and I've talked with Thais about it. Some of the old cultures in Thailand would do the same. They think, somebody's trying to steal the moon, or if it's a solar eclipse, trying to steal the sun. And so, interestingly, yeah, you have in a place like Afghanistan, you have to pay attention to the moon. For instance, when Camp Bastion got attacked and wiped out numerous of our jets and killed the commander of a Harrier squadron, first thing I said was, I'll bet there's no moon tonight, because I pay attention to the moon when I'm in Afghanistan, because the Taliban operate very much on a moon cycle on their nighttime activities. And sure enough, it was right. You look up my dispatch. When the moon sets, watch out. And if you're a combat soldier, you should absolutely read that, because there's tactics in there that you need to be apprised of. It's called When the Moon Sets, Watch Out. And it's about the attack on Camp Bastion. And I'd been out to Camp Bastion many times. I wasn't there for the attack, but then I wrote it and I published it, and a Marine major got back to me. He said, "You were absolutely very accurate, except for some little detail here and there." And I said, well, I understand the Taliban tactics quite a lot. I spent a lot of time studying Taliban tactics. So it was quite predictable what the moon phase would have been. You need to understand, when you're fighting people like Taliban, you have to pay attention to the moon, period. If you don't, you're playing with your life. Yeah, you thought they would disappear me in Hong Kong. I wondered the same, actually. And I didn't have a cyanide pill, super glued to my shoulder either. Suzanne says, I was watching you during this confrontation with the Brit policeman. It's really a wonder they didn't throw me in prison. Yeah. Let's see. What happened to Australia? China threatened Australia. Do you think Australia will back down? I think Australia has been cowed and pushed and bought off to some point, but at some point, I think Aussies will reach a snap point where they're going to go, no, we're going to stand up. But Aussies, as you know, are mostly unarmed. They do have guns, but their military is not strong enough to. The Aussies are extremely professional as well, very capable soldiers, and but they also just don't have the force to resist China if China were to do something kinetic and come right at them. But I mean, so that's why the United States has to make it crystal clear. If you were to do something crazy like invade Australia, we will have a naval fight and an air force fight and everything. We will not let Australia be invaded. Bottom line, and the United States. I mean, they have to just be aware that we're playing with the consequences of that sort of brinksmanship have everything on the table. I mean, literally, we could end up in a nuclear war, which would be the end of this pandemic. Would be nothing compared to that. It would be satellites out, everything. We wouldn't be communicating. There would be just totally a different world, like completely different. Let's see. Yeah. The Hong Kong police really arrested. Kimmy Chan says, yes, I remember that. Hong Kong police won't really arrested American reporters. I think that they would actually. They haven't, to my knowledge, but I think that they would. But there are problems with that, obviously. Because it would be a particular problem if they arrested me in particular, because I'm from Florida and both of my senators pretty much hate CCP. And Rick Scott and Marco Rubio are hawks on CCP like I am. So I think I would immediately have backing from 2 U.S. senators from my state. I back them, that's for sure. I mean, I love how they've stood up to CCP when it wasn't popular. Now it's very popular. Neha says Vitamix is best, made in USA. I might just get a Vitamix. And Bill Davis says Blend Tech. I'll check that out. I want one. I want one blender for the rest of my life. I don't want to buy another blender. I want a good one. It's got to be good, even if it's a couple hundred extra bucks. If you only get one for the rest of your life, it'll be worth it. You know. Yeah, that Vitamix. Okay, let me see if there's any more questions. Otherwise, I'm gonna shoot off. Uh, yeah, Barry Hendelson is saying in Europe it's called a monopoly on violence. The governments have, yeah, I mean, that's why the governments want all the weapons, obviously, for obvious reasons. I mean, everybody knows why they want all the weapons. They don't want to have to answer to us peons. They don't want to have to answer to us small people. And, we're not subjects. We don't have kings. We don't have any of that. There's only a couple of kings I've ever cared about. One I actually hugely respect, and that was King Rama IX of Thailand. But I'm American. We just don't like kings. You know what I mean? We're raised not to like kings. But King Rama IX, he was extremely good. He was very, very good. Bye, Sharon. I hope to see you maybe tomorrow. Hey, Jacob. Let me see. Kimmy Chan talking about blenders. We actually bought both to compare. The Blend Tech will vibrate like it's about to take off like a rocket. Okay, I don't want that one then. And the Vitamix was much louder, but very sturdy and lasts a long time. I want one that lasts a long time. I don't care if it's as loud as a helicopter, as long as it works and doesn't break. I want one that works. All right. Hey, Joseph, thanks for the link. That's the link to the National Guard thing. Please do. I can see what it's about because it says so in the link, but please always put one little just short sentence up there what it's about. And people can decide if they want to click through. I'm going to read that as soon as I go offline. That's pretty interesting to say the least. Okay. All right. Rita says stepping up activities in South China Sea. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I want to keep saying, stock up on food. Continue to stock up. If you've already stocked up and you have more cash, continue to stock up. If you don't know how to ferment things, pickle things and that sort of thing, go ahead and learn how to do it, because that increases your capabilities quite a lot on how you can use food and store it and that sort of thing. And it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. Like tonight, I spent quite a bit of time making some sauerkraut, and tomorrow I'm gonna make some other stuff. And I got a bunch of vegetables and that sort of thing. Hope says, "Will you ever move back to the U.S.? If so, when?" Oh yeah. I mean, I want to keep a residence in Thailand as well. But I'm American. I mean, I've said for many years, I'm eventually, I'm going back to America. I mean, I want to go back to America. I miss the United States. I miss grits. I tell you, I actually miss grits. I ordered a bunch of grits. They should be, I don't know where they're at. Anyway, last time I got grits was a long time ago. Connie sent some. Where are you at, Connie? But I got some grits, and hopefully they'll be here soon. But anyway, I might be back in America before the grits get here. And if y'all don't know what grits are, you're just missing out. And Needy Yates, have you ever heard anything about Poland, how they are doing? Oh, yeah, they're having some. I pay attention to Poland because Poland's near and dear to my heart. Poland's obviously having problems like a lot of people are, but not as bad as like France. But Poland doesn't have, the great hospital system that some countries have. I really want to go back to Poland. Josh says, "Hey, Michael, have been seeing your photo of the mortally wounded Iraqi girl on ads lately, and it made me think back to the first time I ran across your work. I was in Mosul at the same time. Stay safe and good work." Who's using my work in ads? Can you send me a link to that offline? Because I'll put my lawyer on them. I don't let people just steal my work, and especially not that particular photo. which I have defended for years and won every single case. Mostly I give it away. I've given it away, like, I don't know, for every 10, copyright infringements, I've probably given it away 9 of those times and made them non-infringements by saying, oh, you can use it. Especially if it's like anybody that's using it for peaceful, non-commercial uses, I usually give it away, actually. But like a lot of church groups have wanted it. I gave it to every single one of them. Some Islamic groups wanted it, and they wanted it for peaceful reasons. I'm like, it's all yours. Go ahead. And so anybody that wants to use it for peaceful, positive reasons, and it's non-commercial, I'll give it to them. But when people just steal it, I'll go after them. All right. Thank you, Mary Beth. And let me go ahead and shoot off now. And all right. Thanks, SB. Moonbase Alpha. All right. And I'll come back on tomorrow. Oh, shoot, it is tomorrow. It's almost 2 a.m. here. All right. Great chatting around. Mike out.